Hey gang, it's Maria here from GoalieTrainingPro.com, and I am pumped to welcome Peter Martin, who is the owner of Pro Skate Goalie in Calgary, Alberta. If you're from Alberta, you know him already. But Peter, I think we first met probably 3 years ago at the Carey Price Day with Eli Wilson in Kelowna, and I remember you were there, trying to help because all those goalies get brand new CCM setups, and you were in there doing like triage, like, helping everybody get their pads set up. And that was my first meeting with you. I think that's right, eh?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. It's exciting for me to see the kids getting their new gear. I still get pumped every day when a new box arrives in the store. So to have it happen on that scale where 18 kids all got brand new gear, and you're right, triage is a great example or a great word for it because there were pads, gloves, kids just helter skelter everywhere, and thankfully, you were there and Hutch from Weed and Goal magazine were there, and we managed to get everything and all the kids settled pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we're getting it down to a science. I think this year was like even this every year it gets a little bit better and better. It seems like because so for those of you who don't are thinking like what are you even talking about? This is a day with Carey Price that Eli Wilson runs, and as part of the day that the goalies get a new CCM setup, but they all bring their own gear as well because
Yeah,
and it makes sense, like, yeah, you don't want to be out on the ice like with Carey Price, and they all do actually pretty much wear their new setup, but sometimes the glove, you want your your regular glove or whatnot. So we have all the new gear set out when they come in, and we're all in one dressing room, so it's pretty tight quarters, but then there's all their bags with their other gear. So like
yeah.
every year it's like, I know we do something with these bags, like what do we do with these bags? And yeah, it's not pretty, but we're getting it done now. So beyond being an equipment guru, you played the game, as they say. So you had a career in the Western Hockey League, and then you spent time playing and then coaching over in Europe, right? Like Switzerland, I believe.
That's right. Yeah, I did. I moved to Switzerland in 1986 and started playing pro there, and I went up through the ranks and was fortunate enough to play in the National League A with some very good hockey teams, and was very fortunate to have won some trophies. I mean, that's what everybody plays the game for. We love the game, but makes it a lot more enjoyable when you can have a modicum of success. So I was fortunate to be able to do that, and when I retired, yeah, I just stepped right in with my old pro team in Lugano, and was the goaltending consultant there for 2.5 years. So I was fortunate to have that experience, and honestly, to get to play hockey as your day job is pretty cool. And it was the true example of a kid living his dream.
Yeah, that's and like what a place to be able to play. Like, oh, what a
Yeah,
beautiful part of the
there
world.
are worse places on our planet to be living in than Switzerland for sure.
For sure. Now, I was just kind of looking at your stats, but was there a season that you got 12 penalty minutes?
There might have been. I didn't like guys coming in my crease, so based on that was probably in the early days there, based on a 36 game schedule. So 12 minutes. I was taking liberties with the guys in front of the net for sure.
Yeah, asserting your authority.
That's right.
Um, so if people don't follow you already, your handle on the Insta is at Pro Skate Goal, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's right.
cool. So yeah, so I like to look and see this the pictures of the the new gear that's coming in or the new setups that people are picking up. It's like, oh, that is so cool. So now let's get into business a bit. So you work with all brand Bauer, CCM, Vaughn, Warrior, Brian's,
That's
um,
right.
and people have their favorite, and sometimes it's like I want to wear what my favorite goalie wears in the NHL, but you know what are the subtle differences in the brands? How do they really differ in your opinion? And like maybe there's a better option for a younger goalie or a more experienced goalie. I'm not a experienced goalie, so I like the Warrior because it is so light for me. It lets me move. I feel that it lets me move better. But is there anything to that in your business that you kind of think, yeah, that's sort of right?
Yeah, I mean the younger kids definitely come in with my favorite goalie is Marc-Andre Fleury, and I really want to have some CCM pads, which is understandable. But sometimes the wishes or the desires of the kids just don't meet up with how something may fit or something how it may perform. The kids, once they try a pad on, for example, if you came in and Marc-Andre Fleury is your favorite goalie, and you try it on a CCM Premier model pad, but some of the kids find surprisingly that it might be too stiff for their like for their position or how they play the position. So, consequently, you'd move them sideways, laterally, hopefully into something like a CCM Flex series, or from another brand, a model that would match a more flexible, soft pad function. So from that aspect, there's always a little bit of talking with the client, asking questions about their style, their preferences, and whatnot, and hopefully you can deflect some of those preconceived notions that they come into the store with, and get down to try and making the proper choice right off the hop.
Yeah. And then I guess it really just is personal preference.
It is personal preference, and the other thing we do too here in Calgary is we work with a lot of the goalie schools here in Calgary very closely together, and we know that each one has a little bit of a different style. So at the end of the day, puck stopping is the goal of every goaltending training place here in Calgary. But obviously, they each have a little bit of their own twist on how to do that. So we can talk with the customers and ask them where they train at, and we know perhaps from one place they're going to have a certain position in the RBH, for example, and another place would have a different toe position on the post, inside or toe into the post, which would correlate maybe into if you're in the toe into the post, you want to have a softer boot flex. So that might right away off the hop eliminate certain pad models from that happening, simply because it's hard to get if you don't have a soft boot flex, you're not going to be able to get your shoulder lean into that post and have that area sealed off. So yeah, it's important to ask questions to arrive at the best possible solution.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really neato. Now, we're probably a little bit past this, but probably a month or 6 weeks ago, you had quite a few parents probably coming in that discovering their goalies outgrown their gear. And so I can appreciate. I am not a parent, but I can appreciate that a parent might, think, well, maybe we should get like a little bit bigger gear so they can grow into it because it is a big investment. What's your advice on that?
It is a huge investment, and we understand that. Fortunately for us, the majority of the goalie parents are very intelligent, and they understand that for their kids, to allow their kids to have fun, interestingly enough, having fun corresponds directly with the amount of pucks stopped. So keeping that in mind, most parents understand that no different than buying their jeans and their shoes for the go back to school season. So while we do absolutely try and provide as much growth room as possible, it's important that the parents understand that we don't want to hinder movement, mobility, quickness on the ice, and with the changing of the goaltending position again, where we've definitely seen that the switch from the blocking butterfly style going back to more athletic style of goaltending again. Players are making a conscious decision now to wear their pads shorter than they had even 5 years ago. And parents understand that too. So I think parents really, we don't give them enough credit. They really understand that not only is it a commitment in terms of their time, their driving on the road and all those kinds of things that parents do that we take for granted. Also, the financial commitment that they make to goalies is substantial. And I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. A pair of goalie pads costs more than a pair of shin pads. And they understand that. So I think parents, they understand that this is going to happen, and not everybody has to purchase pro level gear. Every manufacturer makes an excellent second price point line of goalie gear that, maybe they can't get there to that pro level yet, but eventually down the road when they need to, they can get into it, and something available for everybody essentially.
Yeah, and I really like too the way the price points, drop so much from a senior pad to an intermediate pad.
Yes,
That's it is a big help probably.
it
Now,
is.
when we go in to buy new gear, what should we take with us? Our skates? Like should we take our pants with us, or what do you think is sort of the because not every place lets you take the pads out onto the ice to demo them. So sometimes you
Sure.
really are just like there in the shop testing it out on a piece of puckboard kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
what's the process you think that would help the best?
In our store, we recommend if players, if they can bring the skates along at bare minimum, that's fantastic. Um, Sometimes, depending on the player, pants can actually get in the way. But since we have uh, pants and chest pads and extra knee pads hanging all over the store, obviously, we can use those if we need to help the goalie recognize, the impact a knee pad may have on the fitting of a pad. If it's going to fit in the knee channel, if his present knee pad is going to fit in the knee channel of the pad he's presently looking at. So, that kind of stuff. If you want to bring your pants along, we recommend absolutely bring the pants along. It's not necessary, in my opinion, that we have the pants for a proper fitting. We're more concerned with seeing exactly how the knee is fitting into the knee channel, the room that exists in that knee for the present knee pad the client is wearing, and to actually see where the inseam height is of the certain player. It's easier to see the inseam length or height of the player because that's a great measuring point to measure the top of the thigh rise of the pad with.
Okay, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, when we were in Kelowna, and Kerry was testing out, remember he was testing out the different paddle lengths?
Yes.
And what kind of were so he typically played with what, a 26, and he was
Yeah.
trying out a 25, and he had a 25 and a half, and he
Right.
was like, yeah, it was like they were okay, but he was
Yeah.
just testing it out. What are your thoughts on paddle size? And again, is there anything kind of in the store when we're looking at sticks that we can do to kind of figure out what might be right for us?
Yeah. Stick length sizing is again. It's a tough one because the style is changing again. Where we've had in the past, depending on your coaching element that you have as your influencer, you may have been a goalie that standing in your on your feet when you're doing a shuffle side to side. There was a period of time where a school of thought where players did not have their stick on the ice. They hovered their stick over the ice to laterally move. So because they were going down almost automatically to make a save on the ice. So consequently, we were more concerned with the length of the stick and how it related to your position in the butterfly. We didn't want the spaces open under the elbows if you had a stick that was too long, or consequently, you didn't want to have your elbows in so tight to accommodate a proper stick position in the event that the paddle was too short. Now we're leaving a little bit outside of our elbows, a little room outside the elbows. So there was a lot of things that came into play when sizing a stick. It wasn't as simple as, okay, show me your goalie stance.
Yeah.
Is that, about how you stand on the ice? Show me your butterfly down. What's your elbow position? So again, you had to take into consideration where they're training. Different ones might have the elbows tucked in a little bit tighter. Other ones will have the gloves in a pronounced position out in front in your periphery, so you could see the gloves in your peripheral vision, and then that would accommodate perhaps a different stick length. But now we see some of the schools here in Calgary are promoting now again during a shuffle, right to left, for example, they're having the players put their stick back down on the ice as they're traveling. So again, we're having to investigate the style that the goalie is playing, the position, maximizing their entire body to keep every hole closed that we can. So yeah, the sticks are tough. They are a tough one, and I don't know that there's any 100% right answer because of it. You have to know how the player is playing and what school of goaltending they're following.
Yeah, so play around with it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about helmets because we were talking a bit about concussions when we were out west, and um, I just got a new mask. The folks at Goalie Parts were kind enough to send me an Otney mask, and so I've just been using that for the last few weeks, and it's much different because I had a much cheaper model before. So
Yeah.
can you chat a little bit about um, you know the different price points? I think I'm always a little bit stymied with concussion and helmet because there's a position paper that's like, and like the medical director of the NHL is an author and Karen Johnson is a author, and so it's sort of the who's who of concussion in the world, and they essentially say that masks prevent lacerations and fractures, that helmets don't, or we can't say that helmets actually do prevent concussion. And but still you don't want to be out there in sort of the flimsiest masks. So can you talk a little bit about the different levels of a mask, and maybe a younger kid that isn't getting as hard a shot, can they get a middle of the range mask, or should that still be like, no, that if you're going to put your money one place, that's where it should be?
Sure. It's interesting that you would bring up this subject because it's something I would say is 5 6 years ago a goalie mask purchase in our store was made kind of like this. Parent would walk in with the athlete. They might browse the store while we fit the athlete in a goalie mask. They would come back and say, "Have you arrived at a choice? Yeah, this one looks great. How much is it? Fantastic. Swipe your card and walk out the door." That's changed. The goalie mask purchase now is made with the parents looking in on it. They are, because of the concussion concern, goalie mask purchase taken on a whole new procedure. So yes, there are different levels of masks for sure. If you're 12 years old, and we find that our clientele is searching for a composite-based mask, whether that's just a fiberglass or a fiberglass carbon reinforced mask. They're searching for that as opposed to a polycarbonate mask. And I'm not one to argue with them. I believe that it is a better choice. Sport mask makes a fantastic option that we've had fantastic success with their X8 model. Their X8 extra small and senior small are a staple in our store because it provides excellent protection. The foams in it are fantastic, and the fit, generally speaking, is adequate to fit a great variety of head shapes. So that's been a great one. As you move on to the pro level of masks, now this is where the discussion really comes into play, because obviously if you're looking at spending that kind of money, you want to have optimal fit. So, with a mask like the Bauer, for example, Bauer offers 2 series, the Enemy series and the Profile series. So 5 fits across the range to fit a client in. And these are, you should be able to find a mask that fits very well in this area. So, but what we're finding, I guess, parents are making a decision now to spend more money on a goal mask. We're finding this in our store, where that the next price point down, if it's $300 less, we're finding the consumer is saving $300 in another area, but putting that $300 into a level of mask that they feel even exceeds what they deem necessary for their son or daughter's level of play. So I think this has taken on a whole new look, how players and parents are making the decision of the mask to purchase, and while every mask we sell in the store has a CSA sticker, all that means is that the mask has surpassed a minimal level. It doesn't tell you a maximum level of protection that a mask receives versus another. That information is not given to us. So knowing that every mask is CSA approved is fantastic. It gives the consumer the knowledge that they have met a certain minimum criteria. However, maximum criteria is not given. But it's great to know that now Bauer shells, the VTX, for example, is exactly the same shell that we see Frederick Anderson wearing.
Yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs. So, I mean, these masks are the best protection you can offer at a CSA in Canada. We have to have a CSA cage approved on a CSA mask. So these are what is provided and to retailers to sell to the public. So I think we have a great selection of masks, whether it's Bauer, CCM, Sport Mask. The selection, although slim, are excellent. All those manufacturers make fantastic products, and we stand behind them for forever because they've been fantastic to us. And while there is no absolute, like you said, concussion prevention, these masks, when fit properly is the most important thing to have. They do provide fantastic protection.
Well, and I think, and really, like, I understand what they're saying too, as if as a scientist, when I was doing my master's degree, you couldn't say what made sense or what, kind of, it's like, is there scientific research that proves or supports exactly what you're saying? And I just don't think that research has been done yet in any of the sports. So I'm hopeful that with concussion becoming more of an issue, that even some of the sports leagues, football or hockey, will help maybe even stimulate or fund some of that research to say, yeah, actually, when we compared these two masks, and it is hard because every athlete, I could take a hit to the head, and you could take what is the same hit to the head, and I could have symptoms and you would be fine. So it's so hard. It's such a hard thing to quantify. But even from a perspective of getting a puck off the mask and not having it hurt, and not being scared to take a puck off the mask. It's when I get hit in the face with a puck, and people be like, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry, are you okay? It's like, it just made a really loud noise, like it's fine, like I didn't feel it. So I don't, to not have, especially a young goalie, be afraid to get hit with a puck, I think is important too. Now I'm going to circle back because you talked about making sure the mask fits properly. And so if someone's in your shop, you have the expertise to really help and make sure it gets fitted. But a lot of parents aren't in a shop, or goalies, myself, aren't in a shop like that. And it's just like, okay, like, you're good. How do you know when you're trying it on if that mask is fitting you properly?
So, for example, when we're fitting a Pro Series mask, we make sure we look for forehead shape. Forehead shape, different masks have different forehead shapes. You'll get a different mask that will fit deeper from your nose to the back of your head. So, the items we look for, a forehead shape matching the forehead. And a lot of times you get a mask fit when you put one on, you can feel it, the two pressure points right here. And consequently, you can fit a finger right in between your forehead and the goal mask. So, we ask questions. The athlete responds. I mean, if it's uncomfortable and it's pinching here, the athlete's going to tell you that it's pinching, or if it's pinching on the temples. Visually, I can see that if something's too narrow, it's going to impact the cheekbone area here. We also look for the mouth fitting over the lip of the mask. We don't want the mouth to be hidden behind the lip of the mask, because it makes talking to your defense pair, for example, maybe an issue. You can't vocalize clearly enough. As something as crazy as taking a drink of water. How do you take a drink of water if your mouth is hidden? Not everybody wants to lift up their mask to take a drink of water. Hot air is always just being expelled back into your face. Your mouth, your lips should be above the lip of the mask. You want to have consequently the top window of the mask riding above your eyebrows. You don't want it tilted up here like we see a lot. the goalie should be looking through the two holes to look through. I mean, it's obvious. So when we put a mask on and it's obvious that it doesn't fit, if the athlete is going to tip the mask up like we always see to get it in a more comfortable position, that's a tip off that it's not fitting properly. So consequently, we would perhaps go to another, the next size up, or another model that we know has a wider forehead, for example. Or we look to see if the back plate is not fully enclosed by the perimeter of the mask. If the back plate is sticking out, so you
Yeah.
can see the athlete's head, that's another dead giveaway that the mask is wrong. Or maybe the chin cup is tightened up too much. It's not allowing the athlete's face to go into the mask the proper distance. So you have to look for that too. It's not automatic. If the back plate is sticking out, well, this mask is too small. You have to look at the chin cup. Maybe somebody tried the mask on yesterday that we tightened the chin cup up, and consequently now somebody else is trying the mask on and it's not allowing their face to rest properly in the mask. So there's different things to look at as far as that's concerned. But you want to make sure that it's fitting through the forehead properly. You don't want gaps between your head and the mask. There should be a certain amount of there shouldn't be amount of give, I guess is what I'm saying. If you push down on the mask when it's on the athlete, and if you can feel that the mask is pushing down and there's a gap there, that's probably another giveaway that, well, let's try another mask to see if we can find a better fit than this one.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it too is knowing how a mask fits, seeing that the athlete's facial profile, and usually you can cross off one or two masks right away just by looking at the player and how his face looks, and knowing which mask may be the proper fit for him right off the hop.
You could kind of be like the Ollivander of the goalie world, that you could just look at the guy and then be like, I think I have something in the back for you. This is a
We do try
dragon's
to carry the
tail.
Chief Stitches mask on the odd occasion for the odd client who's being really particular, for sure.
um, let's talk quickly about toe ties and pro laces, and there are lots of different options now. I know everything comes down to sort of personal preference, but and we've talked about it in terms of the torque on the hip and knees, but do you think toe ties still have a value for certain styles? Or, have you, because you see so much of it, it's not just sort of personal experience. Do you think something like pro laces still gives you that kind of control with the pad, but with reducing the torque on the knees and the hips?
Yeah, I do. I do still see the absolute the benefits of a pro lay system. There's no doubt about it. However, in speaking with some of our clients, some of them choose not to do it. Some of them still choose a skate lace where they'll tie off a knot to create a gap, for example. And their explanation is such that some of them say, I feel like when I'm toe in my RVH, if I'm toe into the post, they feel that the skate lace allows them to get a stronger, harder push because there's no give in a skate lace.
Mm-hmm.
There's an absolute stop, and they feel that they can get a stronger push off in the post, whereas the pro lace does have a certain amount of give to it because it's an elastic bungee. So they feel, some, not all, feel that they just can't get as strong a push off with the pro lace. And if that's their reasoning, we're certainly not going to argue with that, because there is that sensical explanation that we understand. Other guys have come to us and said, wow, this has made such a difference. My knees, I feel so much less strain on my knees. When they combine it with a soft boot pad, bungee toe, they find it so much easier to get in that contorted position, to get the shoulder lean into the post, and they just feel, I guess, more comfortable is the answer. So we've heard since before pro laces came out, we had goalies that asked us, I'm in this skate, I'm in this pad, everything's so tight, and how do we relieve this pain that we're feeling? And that was before a pro lace came out, or that was before any, let's say, any elastic type apparatus was available. And the popular one there for a while was that I can't remember what it's called, the toe clip that had the little clip that you put on the toe bar of your pad, toe hook.
Yeah.
Toe hook was a great solution initially, and it still is great, I believe, for the younger athletes. But once you get up and you're, um, looking for something else, there's just was not enough give in that small bungee. There wasn't enough elasticity in it to allow it to relieve some of the pressure on your ankles and hips and knees. So this to me was a fantastic solution. And Michelle at ProLaces was very open with us in that it was definitely the thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
And sales wise, I find it hard to argue. It's been received fantastically by the goaltending community here in Calgary, and also provincially. We send these things out in the mail all the time. So I mean, I can't argue with the sales success it's had, nor can I argue with the feedback from the clientele that we've given or that we've received. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, that's cool. I ordered a set for my new pads. Want to try get them
Nice.
on there. So
Yeah,
thanks.
looking forward to seeing your new pads.
Yeah, I know they're gonna be sweet.
They
Um,
are.
finally, I want to know how your trip to CCM was, and if there's, I know some of it was top secret, but is there any, what can you tell us about it?
Oh, the trip to CCM was good. It's always it's honestly it's very fortunate to be invited to something like that. CCM has us. They fly us in, um, put us up in a nice hotel, offer us a nice dinner in the evening, but then the next day it's down to work. And this year was a little bit special. We got to see the new equipment line for the Premier Series. And even got to try it out on the ice, which was
Cool.
yeah, we haven't done that before. We'd been on the ice previously, seeing other people wear a new line of equipment. This time, we actually got to go on the ice and try it out ourselves. So the as always, the trip is so beneficial for us to know what's coming, down the road in the future, and to see, usually what the NHL pros are wearing and stuff like that. So the trip to Montreal was great. The staff at CCM Hockey, the goaltending staff, Matthew, Kaylee, are fantastic people to deal with. They're very knowledgeable with what they do, and they care. And that's the biggest thing I get out of it, is that they care and they want to provide the best end user experience with their products possible. So, I mean, it's a win for us that we get to go and see that kind of event. But then it's also a win for the consumer, so that when they ask us about a specific product, and we can, in a nutshell, tell them what it is all about, because we get to see it. We see it firsthand, and everything is explained to us, and they answer every question we have. Like no question is too inane for them. Everything is the questions are well received, answers are thought out, and they're very professional in their approach to it. So it's an honor actually to get to go, because I mean, you're really getting to see the equipment from the beginning of its cycle to what it's going to look like in April 2020 when it arrives in the stores.
Yeah, eh, and I don't know what the other companies do, but I'm friends with Ryan Frayne, and so he's their biomechanist, and
Yeah,
I like that they actually are interested in, let's not just, again, it's not just what we think is going to work better, but let's do some research and see what actually performs better, and add that
yeah,
element to it, so
I
that
agree.
sounds really
100%.
great.
It's great to have that kind of feedback from Ryan, that there's actually that component to what they're putting on the shelves in the store in a year. I mean, it's fantastic, and that's not something that happens with every company. And I think it's important that people understand that there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't really think about. But we're vocal about it in our approach to sales of CCM, because there is actually some factually based, there's factually based research that goes into their product. I mean, not just the NHL pros wearing it, but the stuff that Ryan does does not go unnoticed.
Yeah, that's cool. Peter, it was fantastic to get to chat shop with you a little bit. Gang, again, you can catch up with Peter online at Pro Skate Goal. You can also check out Pro Skate Goalie in Calgary, Alberta, but if you're from there, you already know it anyway. Peter, it sounds like you also send some stuff out in the mail, maybe. Just is that in the Alberta area or?
No, no, we do ship. We ship all over North America. People can reach us through our Pro Skate Goal Instagram handle. They can DM us, or they can email me at peter@psscalgary.com. We do Skype calls. We send pictures. We do all that. All that being said, we will be flipping the switch on a e-commerce website here this fall. Yeah, so
Oh,
we're looking forward to being able to reach out further and help all those goalies out that need goal equipment.
oh, good. So when Peter and I sort of first discussed doing a little chit chat and recording it so you guys could all watch, um, you know, we just wanted to kind of cover really broad topics, but we both want to know what you guys want to know. So feel free to, and I'll give this to Peter to share however he wishes. I'll share it on my channels. That's how you're seeing it now. But, make sure you comment and let us know, like, hey, what areas would you like us to chat about? Because, I don't know, but I can ask question and Peter will answer it. He knows. So let us know what you think. But Peter, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day, because I know it's a very busy time of year for you, but I always really look forward to that day with Carrie Price and Eli there in the Kelowna area. But it's super nice to be able to chat with you again.
It is. I agree, Maria. Thank you very much for having me.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.